Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Release to Rise podcast. My name is Kay Padra. I am super excited to be here today to talk to you about something that is going to be life changing. I know I say that a lot, but I do feel like a lot of these concepts, if I had known them earlier, life would have been just so much easier. If you were drawn to this podcast, or if you felt the need to listen to this one, there's something that you need to hear for either yourself or someone else. There's no mistakes when we are drawn to certain things that we listen to, that we want to watch, that we want to see. It's our higher self guiding us to different things. So if you got that pull to listen to this episode, then this one is specifically for you. I'm going to explain everything the way I see it, the way I've experienced it in my own world, the way that it makes sense to me. And again, if you are drawn to that, it's because there's going to be something that I say that your higher self knows is going to click with you. And that's why you're listening to me as opposed to somebody else who's talking about this, because there's a lot of people out there talking about all sorts of amazing things. But if you're drawn to this, then there's something that I'm going to say that's going to click with you. So what are we talking about today? When I intuitively looked into what the collective needed, to what the people who have a soul contract to learn and be in my life and work with me and in whatever capacity, whatever relationship we're going to have, this is what my collective needed. And it's about forcing things. So many of us work so hard to achieve and to do things in the best way possible and to reach this goal and that goal. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But when we force things, when we're pushing, what I never realized is that pushing for something that we want is actually pushing it away. When we try to force things to happen, when we really want something on an energetic level, what that says is that if I really want this thing, then I don't have it. And all your subconscious is going to hear, it's not going to hear the I want, it hears I don't have. And that's what registers. That's why people struggle with manifestation, because they think they're manifesting what they want when they really are manifesting how they feel. But when we want something, the indirect message that we're sending not only out into the ethers and the universe and in our creator field is what we're saying is, I don't have that. Because if you had that, you wouldn't want it, right? So logically, that makes sense. And yet it is so hard on a human level to not want certain things, especially want them to an extreme. And it's okay to have an interest in things, but what we're going to talk about today is having it be a more natural, neutral want, as opposed to a desperate need. When I need something, when my conscious mind says I need that, it really can trap us and trick us into thinking that all you have to do is want for something and it will happen. All you have to do is work hard enough and it will happen. All you have to do is this, that, and the other thing, and poof, everything will fall into place. But what people forget is that energetically, there is a massive component that not many of us realize and that will affect us whether we recognize it or not. You can listen to us and think that is a bunch of bullcrap, and that's fine if you do, but it's still impacting you. It is still going to happen and influence what you get in your world. And so when I talk about this forcefulness, and there's this whole universal law that we're going to talk about too, I want you to realize it's not saying that I don't want you to have wants and goals and things like that, but it's the energy that we have behind it that dictates everything. When we have a want or a desperate need to do something, achieve something, bring someone into our life, whatever it might be, what we're saying to the universe and what we're putting out from our creator field is that I don't have this. And remember, our subconscious is very literal. So all your subconscious hears is I don't have, and then all your subconscious is going to do is look for evidence to prove that you don't have that. Your energy is going to block that from coming in. It's this thing called law of opposing forces, which you don't need to remember the law. All you need to know is that the more you want something, the further it will get away from you. This law will come up often. This opposing forces where I'll want something or I'll feel a need for something. And then I'm like, oh, just push that away. So I'll give you a few examples. Some of them are really big and some of them are really little. But one of them, I remember this so clearly. I used to run in high school. I think I joined cross country junior year, sophomore year. I was a late starter with running, but I did track all throughout because I was in a rural town. There wasn't much to do. So it was sports in school or dance. And I chose the sports route. And in spring, there's not much to do, but all my friends were doing track. So I did track. I wasn't like the best runner by any means, but I was always a distance runner. Your girl's not a sprinter. Okay. If we're getting chased and let's say the chase lasts for miles, you want me. You want me on your team because I could last. If the chase is a 100-meter sprint, you're not going to want me. I'm your sacrificial lamb. I will go down. The tiger will eat me immediately. I am so slow when it comes to shorter distances, to speed work. I ran distance and I wasn't some stellar runner by any means. It's so interesting because for me with sports in high school, it was very much a mental game. I was my biggest critic. It's something I still work on today. And I was a head case. I was really trying to force, whether it be volleyball, whether it be cross country, or whether it be track. Those were the three sports I tried. I did dabble in the soccer, 8th grade year. My strengths were the cheering on the bus. I would lead the team cheers and during the warm up. And that's where I peaked for soccer. Otherwise, super happy to ride the bench. Super happy. Hated every second of it. It was cold. It was freezing. We're flinging balls around. Nah, not my jam. My jam was cross country, volleyball, and track. So in those three sports, it was such a mental game. I was trying to force certain things. I would try to force a spike, or I would try to force a different time, or in cross country, I would go out too fast. I was trying to, or actually, I shouldn't say I was trying to, I was desperately needing to keep up with people, just desperately needing to keep up, as opposed to just running my game. In track, you're running around a circle. I hate that. And people are watching you, and I don't want people to look at me. And so you're just constantly aware of where your competition is. Obviously, it's a sport. But for me, I was trying to force certain things, and I needed to achieve certain things in order for me to feel worthy. Because again, I was associating my worth with how well I did in track, or how many spikes I got in a game in volleyball, if I even played, or how fast I could run a 5K in cross country. Those things were associated with my worth. So there was this intense need and this intense desire to achieve something. And there's nothing wrong with having the desire, but what went behind it, the energy behind it, was this desperate need and this desperate want. And so I constantly pushed it away. I remember one time we were practicing. There's this thing called the bus circle. It's where the buses lined up in our high school. It was a little paved circle around a huge thing of grass. And if people were on the track or there was a football game, that football field was in the middle of the track, we would have to run around the bus circle. And it sucked because it was hill. So you started and then you'd run up the hill, up the top, down the hill. My coach, who was a savage. She was an amazing runner in college, but our workouts were brutal. And we were doing sprints, and we were doing 400 meters, which would be one loop around the bus circle. And then we would do an 800 meter. You don't get any breaks. I wasn't the best on the team and never expected to be the best on the team, but I knew that I was good at running. And I also knew that I was a head case. I always wanted to do well. I wanted to achieve, not only for me and my worth, which obviously wasn't coming from a good place, but that's where I was at that time, but also for my coach. I was seeking her approval, and I wanted that ego boost because my self-image was so in the tanks that I wanted that. I needed that to feel better about myself. When we had these practices, these gnarly practices, I never was the one to come in first, because I was forcing it or trying to force it. I had such an incredible need and desire to be better than someone else so that I could feel good about myself that it pushed that away. It pushed me being able to actually achieve that away. Well, there was one practice I remember clear as day. It was at the point in the practice where I was like, Lord, please just help me get through. It's when you start to pray. If you're not religious, you get real religious. You just start to go, Jesus, sweet baby Jesus, get me through this workout. And please, if I don't puke, that would be great. And when I got to this place where I just let it all go, I was like, screw it. I don't care. It's not a big deal. This is just practice. You've got 2 more intervals to do. Just get it done. And in that moment, when I got to that place of just completely letting go, I had the best run I've ever had in the best time that I've ever had. I beat, not that this matters, and I know that this doesn't matter now, but at the time it was a big deal because I quote unquote beat the best runners, the best girls on the team. And it felt so easy. And that was the biggest thing. It felt natural. My breathing was steady. My legs were fluid. I was out of my head. And I was just like, let's get this done. My friends are waiting. My boyfriend's waiting. I want to go hang out with them. And so this need and this desire to achieve, to validate my self-worth, which was coming from such an injured place, had dissipated. And because I wasn't forcing it, I came from a more neutral place. All of a sudden, I crushed it, you guys. I crushed the last two intervals to the point where my coach is like, whoa, who are you? And then knowing that that's what I could do and knowing that I had gotten out of that place of force, the law of opposing forces wasn't working there because I was neutral. So I wasn't forcing anything. Things were happening organically. I was aligned. I was in tune. I was neutral. Whatever happened. I didn't care. And so when that happened and I saw the potential that I had as a runner that I'd never really noticed before, when I went to the next track meet, I was like, okay, try to replicate this. And I couldn't. Because that force, that need, that desperate want to win, to achieve, to beat so-and-so, to come in first, or to get whatever points we needed, that need was back. And when I tried to force that, and I really, really needed that to happen for me, to feel good about myself, I pushed it right away. Right away. I never duplicated it again. And I remember that moment clear as day because of the way my body felt, because of the way my mind felt. Everything calmed and everything was quiet. And it just flowed. I don't know if you guys have ever had a day like that where it just flows. It's an amazing feeling when things just flow and when you're in a state of flow. But it takes a lot to get there. It takes a real throwing your hands up. This is what it is. I don't give a shit anymore. Whatever you say to yourself and in whatever capacity, right? For me as an athlete, if I could have gotten neutral, then I would perform. This happened to me in volleyball too. I wasn't the strongest player, so I didn't play all the time. I was sitting the bench and I remember feeling like a spectator instead of a part of the team in this one game. And we were losing and I was so frustrated because the way my mind works, I'm really good at remembering rules of the game and positions and where you're supposed to go when the setter goes here and what my roles were, all that. I knew that. Implementing that, my head got in the way because I was trying to force certain things. So there's this one game, we're losing. And we're losing enough where my coach is like, Kate, go in. I didn't have a want. I didn't have a need. I remember the same type of calm that I felt when I was running, that same, like my mind was quiet. Everything was muscle memory. And it was set, spike. And you guys, I wasn't the best volleyball player. That wasn't the norm for me. But on that day, I got 9 spikes. I remember one of the girls in the front line with me, she was in the middle. There was a setter, and then there's this girl, and then there's me. And she's like, what got into you today? And I'm like, I don't know, but let's just keep running with it. Because I didn't want my mind to start going. I didn't want to start overthinking it and going, holy crap, what is happening? Because if I had that force, that need, that really desperate want would have come in of, I want this to happen. And then I would have pushed it away and I would have screwed up. When I look back and think of me as an athlete in high school, so much of my struggle was a mental game because of that need and that want. And again, that's not to say it's bad to want to win a game. But when you have it as it's defining your worth or it's defining a certain part of your life, or you have it where there's such an intensive energy behind it, it pushes away. Whereas when I got neutral and was like, screw it, I don't care if I run the last 2 intervals of this practice well. I don't care if we win this game or not. I just want to play. It's fun to play. Put me in. Let me do it. I was neutral. Life would have been good if I went into the volleyball game. Life would have been good if I sat the bench like I normally did. Didn't matter. It didn't matter. And because of that, it's almost like it freed up this energy within me to just flow. Because I stopped trying to force it. It happens to me mentally all the time. I remember in college, I was desperately trying to pass one of my intro to psych classes, which I love psychology. I love to learn. But for whatever reason, I was struggling in this class. Guys, I say struggling. I think I had a B. So, I mean, again, perspective. At that time, the B meant something about my self-image and my self-worth. So I was like, I need an A. And the more I was trying to force it, the more I went to the study groups, the more I went to my professor's office hours to get help, nothing worked. And it always boggled my mind because I'm like, I'm studying extra. I'm spending so much extra time on this one class. And yet I ended up with a C. In hindsight, it doesn't matter, right? I passed the class. But it's a prime example of how I was trying to force and really make sure that I got an A because, God, I wanted that A so bad. And the reason behind that doesn't matter. It's that I wanted it so bad that everything I tried, there was an energy behind it of intensity. There's an energy behind it of this desperate want. I need. And so the universe was like, okay, you think this is what you need. We're going to start pushing this away so that you can learn a lesson or have an opportunity to learn a lesson, which I didn't at that time, BT dubs, of here's what happens when you really need something. Law of opposing forces, it pushes it away. Now, I didn't learn it at that moment because I was 18 in college and whatever. But the universe was just trying to give me an example because it's an energetic law. It's going to happen whether you choose it to or not. I just didn't know that's what was happening. I just kept thinking, what is going on? Usually the more effort I put in, it's reciprocated. I try a little bit harder, things come back. The classes that I took where it was just neutral and I was like, it is what it is. When I was in a healthier place, easy peasy. In fact, the ones where I was fine if I get an A, fine if I get a D, those are when I got A's. Because there wasn't this desperate need of wanting energy behind it to push it away. You know those finger traps that you get and they're little woven things and you put your 2 fingers in and they get stuck? My dentist, I had the best dentist growing up. Rural area. The wife worked with the kids. The husband worked with the adults. It was awesome. And you'd get toys all the time. Well, they handed out these finger traps. You put your fingers in and they get stuck. And your instinct is to pull. Your instinct is to pull. You want to get your fingers out. It's just natural instinct. But the more you force it, the more you pull and try to force your fingers out, the tighter the trap gets. The way to get out of that trap is when you release and relax and your fingers come out. It's just like that with our energy. When we try to force, the trap gets tighter and we cannot get our fingers out. But if you relax, your fingers can come out. Your energy can flow. You can get in that aligned state. You can get in the flow state. Things feel easier. I've seen so many of my friends and people in my life who are single, and I experienced this too. I've talked to you guys about this before, that really, really want to find love. And rightly so. I think that's just one of the things that all humans want. We want to be heard, understood, and loved unconditionally. And one of the things that is interesting is that they're pushing it away because of their energy. And subconsciously, there's a lot of other energies we release, which I'll get into in a second. But when we are looking for a serious relationship or we're trying to find the love of our life, and we have this energy of, I need to find my partner. I need to be married by this date. I need to achieve marriage by this age, kids by this age, ... When we have the energy of that behind us, and again, it's great to have a general timeline. It's great to have goals. And it's okay to want someone to love you and have a romantic love. But when you have that big, intensive energy behind it, with want and need, and it will define your worth and it will make you happy and all those things because our self-love and our self-image is low. When you have that, it pushes it away and it pushes it away and it just keeps pushing it away. You think you have a timeline, joke's on you. Because the universe will always come in and be like, hold my beer. If the universe drank, if source drank, hold my beer. Because this is not how it goes. You want it too much. You have to get to a place where you are neutral about it. It's great if it happens, but life is good if it doesn't. And energy will flow, things will come in. So many people I know are consciously, they will verbalize it. I so desperately just want to find someone who loves me the way I want. I want that romantic love. I want to go on dates. I want a family and kids, all of that. And of course, that's a great goal and that's a great thing for a lot of people. But their energy behind it is so intense that what they're saying when they want, the indirect message, they're consciously saying, I desperately want this. I really need this. And subconsciously, your subconscious is hearing, I don't have this. I don't have someone to love. I don't have a family. I don't have a spouse. And so that's what your subconscious hears. That filters what's toggled on. And then you're constantly finding evidence of you not having the things that you want and not bringing in the things that you want. There's also so many energies with body code and with belief code that is quite interesting that will block us from romantic love. There's a lot of ways that we can release energies to help you neutralize, whether it's a negative program or a limiting belief, or it could be even trapped emotions within your body. All of that is blocking your energetic flow. And if it's in belief code with negative programs and limiting beliefs, that's subconscious programming that I would help release. You rewire it, you reprogram it, and we rebuild in there. And that also does help dissipate the want and dissipate the need, bring you to a more neutral place so that you can have the things that you want, because you're not coming from such a desperate, I need this to validate who I am. For me, I have to always remind myself to get to a point where if I have it, great. And if I don't, I still love my life. Or I have it, great. And if I don't, I'm still worthy of this, that, or the other thing. It's the external things that we're attaching to the external things that we want that is really also what's pushing it away. Because we need to get to a place where, again, an internal job, we can feel worthy and we can feel loved and we can feel unconditionally loved by ourselves before we bring in that romantic love to love us. You know, they talk about how someone can't love you until you love yourself. And I never really understood that, because even when I met my husband, my self-love was getting better, but it wasn't where it is today. And that man fell in love with me. I mean, come on. So I never really understood it until I was learning about the energy behind it. And I was like, oh, that makes complete sense, because you energetically have to go to a place where you do love yourself, whether someone's there to externally love on you or not. You don't need it. But man, is it great if you have it. It's that type of attitude that helped me get to a place where I was open and it was flowing. I have great friends. I have a great family. I have a ton of nieces and nephews that I love. I'm good. And then boom, there's my husband. And when I met that man, I just knew. I was like, oh, there you are. I just knew, which that's a whole other story for a whole other podcast if anyone's interested. But it was that finger trap. I was just trying to force. And so many of my friends are just trying to force it. And we're getting trapped. The trap is getting tighter and tighter and tighter around our fingers. And no wonder they're not bringing in any potential partners or any situations where they can meet the love of their life. I see it all the time happening in vocation too, all the time. People won't get promotions. People won't get raises because there's a tremendous want and need behind it. There's a tremendous desperation for having the external thing of achieving that validate something internal that's a little bit broken within our creator field or within our energy. And so when we have that want, we're like, yes, I need that promotion. I need that raise to do this, that, and the other thing. And then when we don't get it, we've energetically pushed it away. And again, it's all about taking radical responsibility with that stuff too, which is 2 podcasts ago. Brutal, trigger warning, but it's a good one. Because once you realize that, you're like, well, hell, I've been pushing so much stuff away. Your physical fitness goals, how you want to look in your body, what you want to achieve in vocation, what you want your relationships to be, all of that. Emotionally, how you want to be, mentally, all of those things. I work really hard to get to a neutral place so that I'm not pushing things away. Even in business, a lot of my friends who are business owners, they might get a lull in their clientele, or they might be booming for a second and then feel this need to make sure to sustain this. And there's also such a fear of finances, because finances when you're a business owner are not as consistent as, let's say, when you're a teacher or whatever profession you have when you get a salary. So some of my friends will come to me and they will be struggling in their business and they'll have a lull in their clientele, or they'll have a lull in the income that's coming in, the products they're selling or whatever. And oftentimes the real root reason that they're seeing that lull is because all of the sudden, when they had the clients come in, there was this need, this want of, I need to make sure to sustain this. I need to make sure to bring in more money. I need to make sure to sell this many products this time or get in this many stores. There was this need with this energy behind it that's intense, that's push everything away. Because when you need something that badly and you need something energetically to that point, you're telling your subconscious you don't have that. If you're saying, I need 10 more clients to pay this bill or reach this goal or pay rent here or whatever, energetically, you will push it away because you're telling your subconscious that you don't have it, because you wouldn't need it if you had it. That's also where language is really important. We really need to be careful with how we speak, with how we word things. It's okay to want to help as many people as possible. I know I do. I want to help as many people as possible, but I have to be really careful inside my brain, or whether I verbalize it or not, of making sure that it stays that way. And it doesn't become a need of, I need this many clients to feel worthy, to feel successful, to pay this bill, to pay rent at my office. I have to be careful not to fall in that trap. And it's an easy trap to fall into, because when you need those things to reach a certain goal, you're going to push it away. And I don't want to do that. In other businesses, I've done that before. I used to be a youth resilience coach for teens and tweens when I first got out of special education. I love that age. That age is just hysterical. Middle school, high school, wildly entertaining, completely irrational, and so much fun. I loved it. That was my next step to getting out of teaching and getting towards my soul path, soul pull. But I remember having an influx of clients and then being like, okay, I need to have this many clients before I can feel like it was a safe choice to leave special education, to leave the education system. Well, guess what happened? Because I needed that so much, my subconscious was like, oh, you don't have clients? And that's what was in my creator field. And remember, our creator field hands a script out to people and says, this is what I'm creating in my life. Mirror it back to me. And then boom, I had barely any clients. I shouldn't have been surprised. I didn't know about this energy stuff at that time. It's easy to do, and we do it often, and we're never going to be perfect at it. So when I talk to you guys about forcing things and really coming from a place of needing something so desperately, I really am bringing it up so that there's an awareness, because the more awareness you have, the less likely it'll happen. Or when it does happen, you can reflect on it and go, oh, that's why that happened. Oh, shoot. Okay, so next time I'll get neutral. It's just so great to be aware of. And I still have chats with myself all the time about that. I sit back and reflect and go, oh God, that was my bad. I had a friend who is in the energy world, and she was working on her muscle testing. Muscle testing, there's all different forms. I use the ring and ring method. If you're watching, it looks like this. It's you put thumb and pointer finger together on each hand. You interloop them. And when you pull, this is a yes. When it breaks apart, this is a no, right? This is the type of muscle testing that I like. It's what I'm most confident in. You see all sorts of types. People will have pendulums. People will do a sway test. You sway forward for a yes, back for a no. Now, my friend had chosen the ring and ring method. So again, the thumb and pointer fingers on each hand intersect to make two rings. They interloop. If it doesn't break apart, that's a yes. If it breaks apart, that's a no. And so I said, start how I started. Practice walking down the street and going, my name is so-and-so, my name is so-and-so. I used to say, my name is Kate, my name is blah, blah, blah. And you just practice the feeling. And she called me and was devastated because she was struggling so much. I immediately got the intuitive nudge to remind her of the law of opposing forces, because she was desperate to master this. She wanted to learn it so much. She wanted to learn it so badly that she pushed it away, and she was having a heck of a time mastering it. And so I said, listen, you have to go to a place where you don't care if you master it or not. It's like, cool, if I can do this, great. And if I don't do this, that's okay too. It's hard to get to that point. But when I look at my energy journey, and I look at all of the way that unfolded, because it really flowed. I started with my practitioner, and she taught me how to do sessions on myself. And so I did on me, my sister, whatever. At the time, I also had a pull to read the books. And then I had a pull to get certified. Everything just flowed because there was no pressure to it. It was like, oh, let's just learn this. Let's just do this. So when my practitioner told me to learn muscle testing, and I was where my friend who was really frustrated, when I was in that same spot, I wasn't frustrated. Because I was like, whatever, there's no risk to it. There was no pressure to it. I wasn't having it mean anything about my worth or my future. I didn't even think I was going to have a business where I help people heal by releasing energies that are stuck in their system. I didn't even think that I was going there. So there was no pressure. There was nothing happening behind the scenes mentally. There was no energetic need. It was all flow and interest and learning. I consumed those books rapidly. The muscle testing, I let that develop. And everything kind of like pieces of a puzzle clicked into place. Because instead of me trying to move my fingers from a finger trap and having that trap get tighter and tighter, my fingers were just chilling. I wasn't trying to do anything but just learn. I didn't need to master anything because I didn't even know this was where my path was going to lead. I had no idea. So then when I got certified, again, I'm like, I'm just going to see if this is what I'm going to do in school. Maybe I'll do this with students. I didn't know, but everything flowed within. It just, I learned everything very quickly. I grasped it quickly. I practiced it easily. There was no pressure on myself from myself to push any results away. Because that's what would have happened. If I left teaching and said, this is what I'm going to do, this is going to be my bread and butter, I have to achieve this, I have to get certified by this date, I have to make sure to help this many people, I need this many clients. If I had any of that behind me at the time, there would have been obstacles and challenges as I pushed all of the outcomes away. But because I was enjoying it in a very neutral way, everything flowed. Everything flowed, including my very first person who reached out and said, hey, can you do an in-person session? I can pay you. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that it took me by surprise. That's how unaware I was of all of this being my soul path, soul pull. You just don't know. You don't know what you don't know until you do. The transgression of everything and my training and everything very much equated to that feeling I had during that track practice when everything just cleared from my mind and everything was so quiet. Or even in that volleyball game when it was muscle memory, it was almost robotic. There was nothing that I was really desperately needing from it. And so my energy was open and it allowed it to flow in. And part of the energy work that I do is helping people release that stuck energy that will help the energy flow. The other part is teaching about this stuff. For me, once I knew this stuff, I was more aware. And then combine that with releasing stuck energy, whether it's limiting beliefs or negative programs or trapped emotions or there's all sorts of other energies that can cause or contribute to this. But combine that energy work with the knowledge of this, it's super powerful. It's super powerful. But just know that it will come up a million times a day. It's so interesting when I stop and look at the day and I think, that's where I forced that or pushed that away. That's where I pushed that away. Because even as I'm aware, and even as I have done energy work to rewire my subconscious, not only in this timeline, but in past future lives and all sorts of things, it still is a thing because we're still human. I tell you guys all of this just so that you know about it, but also know that it's still something I work on too. So don't beat yourself up over it, please. But knowing about it's really interesting, and seeing it happen in the wild is also very fun. I highly recommend sitting back and watching it happen. Because it also can happen in arguments and things like that. For example, I want a dog. I want one so badly, which is funny because this actually just came to me as I was talking about this and prepping for this podcast. I was like, well, crap, I have done this with getting a dog because I want one so badly. Like with every fiber of my being, I want to nurture something. And we have a grand pup who's the cutest thing in the whole entire world. And I'm like, oh, I just want to eat her up. And so I'm like, I want a dog. Well, guess what? Guess who doesn't want a dog? Who adamantly doesn't want a dog? My husband. But also, that's the law of opposing forces. That is me saying, this is what I want. And this would help me feel this, and this. And my husband's like, no, I don't want one because of this, and this. And all of his reasons, by the way, are 100% valid. And also, I'm causing that. I'm causing that reaction in my partner because of this energetic law. If I could get neutral about it and somehow fulfill all the emotional things that I would get from a dog and that unconditional love and that feeling of value and nurturing it and all of the things, if I could somehow get that before I get the dog, I guarantee you that man would get on board. So just know that if you listen to this and it resonates, but you start beating yourself up over it, don't. I didn't even realize the dog thing until I was brainstorming for this and I thought, oh, good God, done it again. It's just part of energy and it's just part of us being human. So if you guys have any questions on this, if this is something that still confuses you, please reach out. You can always email me. You can always DM me on socials. You can always fill out a contact form on my website. I would be happy to chat with you about it anytime. I love this stuff so much. Me understanding this stuff has been a game changer, and I think that it can be for all of us because it, like I said, you can agree with it or not. It's happening either way. Once you have the awareness of it, then you can start to see where it's happening in your life and go, oh, shoot, I did this, I did that, I did that, I did that. Take that radical responsibility, and then things start to shift. And that's the power of it all. That's our superpower because we can shift our energy. Change is possible. It is. If I can change, you can change. Trust me. Anyway, my friends, thank you for joining this conversation. I love talking about this stuff. It's really only scratching the surface because we've got to start somewhere, and I don't want to inundate you with even more specifics. So if you're somebody who wants more in-depth detail, who wants more examples, who wants to be able to ask questions, who wants to learn faster, grow, develop, evolve faster, then the webinars are the place, because that is 45 minutes where I will discuss something like this, and then I will open up the floor to Q&A to anyone who wants an intuitive insight about something related to the topic, all of those things. If that is something that is you, then make sure to get on my mailing list. You just pop down on my website. I'll put that in the show notes. Pop down on my website to the bottom of the homepage. It'll say join my newsletter. Put your information in there, and you'll then be able to access what the topics of the webinars are and when they're going to happen, because I only send that out on emails. I don't put any of that on socials. If that's something that you feel pulled towards, there's a reason for that. So hope to see you there. And if not, thank you for joining me today. This was so much fun. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I appreciate you being here. Until next week, my friends, have a great week. Love you.